Like, I can hear Raihn shouting, just let me love you. Just let me love it.
And I was like, really, Oraya? You can't fathom how someone might be loyal to a cruel vampire king. How interesting. Maybe we should have, put that in parentheses at the bottom of the printable. Don't break Raihn's heart.
I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think we can too. Hi, and welcome to Romantasy Remedy. I'm Whitney.
And I'm Kenzie. We're sisters-in-law and book besties who thrive on daily doses of magic and romance from our favorite fantasy stories.
So, if your emotional support animal is a dragon and your therapist has shadow powers, you're in the right place. Thanks for being here and for liking, rating, and following our show. Before we get started, this is our official content warning. Simply put, Romantasy Remedy is a podcast for grown-ups. The topics and language will reflect that. Please listen at your comfort level.
And one more thing before we dive into The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. Our spoiler warning. For most of the episode, there will only be spoilers for chapters 42 through 45, but at the end of today's episode, we will have our spoiler central segment where we make connections to events later in the book and the entire Crowns of Nyaxia series. Don't worry, we'll give another big warning before Spoiler Central begins.
Thanks, Kens. One of our goals at Romantasy Remedy is to highlight how books in this genre inspire readers. When we see characters facing fears, overcoming challenges, and growing into their potential, it helps us to do the same. So each week we'll choose a quote from the chapters we read to be an affirmation, a phrase that can empower and motivate us. This week's affirmation says, "Don't you dare stop fighting." We love this because we all have times when we need a pep talk, a reminder that we have purpose, strength, and people who love us. Sometimes we need help seeing all the reasons to keep showing up and fighting no matter what. We base this affirmation on words spoken by our favorite Raihn vampire, Raihn. Keep listening to get all the details surrounding this amazing quote later in the episode. And don't forget, you can find a printable version of the affirmation in the show notes in case you want to stick it on your mirror or fridge or wherever. And with that, Kens is going to recap what happened in this week's section of chapters.
During the new moon interlude, Vincent drags Oraya to the throne room where her ex is groveling. Vincent hands her a dagger and waits with his "obey me or else" face on. Oraya does the unthinkable. Vincent walks away. 0 hugs. How mean. Meanwhile, Raihn plays nurse, bandaging Oraya and verbally destroying Vincent like the warrior he is. Oraya admits she's planning to become Vincent's coryate, and Raihn is not impressed. Turns out Vincent's been stockpiling humans from Salome, not protecting them. Betrayal, anyone? Oraya storms off to Daddy Dearest's castle for a confrontation. Vincent is relieved she's alive until she brings up genocide. He admits he's going to lie about destroying Salome, shows her his vampire buffet, and pitches the Coriatis bond as a cute father-daughter upgrade. Oraya calls him out, and Vincent loses it. When Oraya walks away, he lets her go. She heads to the human district and goes full rage mode on local vampires until Raihn finds her mid-stabbing spree. She lashes out, then kisses him. Naturally, they fly home, and let's just say that slow burn tensionally finally combusts. It's soft, it's steamy, and it doesn't disappoint. Afterwards, Raihn opens up about his brutal past, and they both promise to never stop fighting. Too soon, it's final trial time. Angelica and Ibrahim are there. Oraya lets go of Raihn's hand and steps forward.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot here.
This was a big one.
Let's get going. We've got a lot to talk about. Starting with the new moon section. We, of course, have an interlude because we're beginning a new section. And last time we talked about the cave. Well, this is the interlude.
You're right.
Remember, in the Crescent Moon interlude, we learned about Oraya's trauma at the hands of her vampire boyfriend and how she went to Vincent right after that occurred. The new moon interlude is part 2 of that story, and it's rough, so prepare yourself.
Yes.
Vincent brings Oraya to the throne room, saying that he has a gift for her. And what he has is her lover bound and kneeling on the floor. This boy immediately starts begging Oraya for her forgiveness. Vincent hands Oraya a dagger and instructs her on how to kill this boy. When Oraya hesitates, Vincent insists, and Oraya realizes that this isn't just a lesson on how to kill a vampire, but it's also a punishment for her trusting someone besides Vincent. And Kenz, can you read us what Oraya said about this?
Yes. Oraya explains she had disobeyed her father's tenets. She had allowed someone else into her heart, and now he would force her to carve it out and lay it at his feet. No conflicting feelings about Vincent here, just full on pissed at him. It's like, not as if Oraya hasn't already been through enough. This isn't for her. This isn't a healing moment for her. It's for him to patch up his wounded pride and scare her into never doing it again. It's terrible. Do you agree?
Totally. I 100% agree that this is not coming from a place of, oh, I need to protect Oraya and help her. No. This is him just, like you said, patching up his pride that she chose to trust and love another person besides him. And my rage at Vincent over this only increases as the event unfolds. So bear with me here.
Yes.
Oraya does end up stabbing her lover and watching him die. This is where the famous instruction to look them in the eyes and not look away, this is where it comes from. So now we know. And Vincent forces her to look in the boy's eyes as she's stabbing him, and then he just walks away.
I know. It's so sick. So gross.
And as we know from reading the rest of the book, this haunts Oraya her entire life. So I can't even. I have no words because it makes me so angry. You have to take over. His unforgivable behavior has me kind of speechless. So
I'm just going to move on because I also can't with Vincent right now because all the reasons I can't with him. So moving on, they're back. Raihn puts medicine on Oraya's wounds because where we left last week, she'd been sliced by Ivan, right? And they actually hold hands in this moment, which is so sweet. They're starting to have a little more intimacy with each other, and it's nice to see. And they start talking about Selene. And Raihn mentions that he almost sent Misha there when she had to withdraw from the Kujari, right? And he straight up calls Vincent a monster and reminds Oraya that he just killed 500,000 people, vampires and humans alike. And when Oraya tries to justify Vincent's actions, Raihn isn't having it. And he's, let's remember, he's kind of been restrained and been kind of conservative in some of his comments about Vincent, but he's letting the punches fly now. And Oraya's reaction is actually interesting. Definitely not what I thought it would have been earlier in the book.
No, I agree. It's definitely different from what she would have said earlier. And here, I'm just going to read you what she says at this point. First, Oraya says, "We don't know what happened." And then Raihn responds, "I know enough," he snapped. "I saw the ruins. I could smell the bones in that dust. That's enough, Oraya. That is enough." My fingernails were biting into Raihn's skin, my knuckles trembling, my jaw ached because I was clenching it so hard. And when a voice in my head whispered, "He's right. Isn't that enough?" It wasn't Vincent's voice. It was mine. Finally, we hear Oraya's voice in her own head. Can you believe it?
No, it's so long overdue. I think this is seriously like the first time that it hasn't been Vincent dictating her actions in her head or how she's supposed to feel. I love it. Long overdue. Oraya then accidentally reveals to Raihn that she's planned to ask Nyaxia for the Coriatis bond, which Raihn kind of loses it, rightfully so, because of everything that's just transpired. But he also brings up some other good points, such as there were barely any humans left in Salinay because Vincent had been taking them for over 20 years. So it doesn't seem like he was really planning on Oraya going to liberate these humans ever in the first place. And then the protections of the humans in Salinay were as effective as the protections to the human in Sivernage. So, aka no real protection. And then also the Coriatis bond gives Vincent Araya's power. So it would make it where Oraya could actually never hurt him. So that Coriatis bond's not for her, it's for him.
Well, those are some excellent points. So
Yeah.
Go Raihn. Raihn then mockingly calls Vincent her loving, saintly father. And that's when that's when Oraya finally reacts, and she whips out her weapons and points them at Raihn. Clearly, he's the one at fault here.
These knives, man. Dangerous
Seriously.
game.
Raihn just holds his ground and begs Oraya to ask herself these hard questions about how Vincent benefits from this Coriatis bond with Oraya, and why might Vincent be afraid of Oraya. And Oraya just can't reconcile this information with the image she has of Vincent as her loving father. Now, for me as the reader, coming off of that interlude, it is really hard to, to think the way Oraya is thinking right now.
Right.
Because we've seen him be a total monster in the interlude. And now Raihn is pointing out, again, all these ways he's being a total monster. And so I'm inclined to totally agree with Raihn right now. And honestly, I think deep down, Oraya also agrees with Raihn, and that's why this is so difficult for her. And I'm sure that many of us can relate to a situation where our feelings about someone kind of blind us to maybe some problematic qualities of that person. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I've experienced this in my own life with some close people with close relationships, and it is hard not to give people passes when they absolutely don't deserve them. And it's a very conflicting situation because you want to, because you love them or you think you love them, but wrong is wrong sometimes.
Right.
It just is.
You gotta set boundaries at some point to protect yourself or protect others. And Oraya is just like grappling with that now.
Oh, absolutely. And so Oraya actually ends up leaving the Moon Palace. I'm so glad at this moment, let me just say this real fast, that she's able to leave the Moon Palace so that she could work some of that steam off, because not long ago they were stuck in there. And so I'm glad she can leave now. And anyway, so she is walking to the Nightborn Castle to see Vincent, and girlfriend just doesn't give a crap anymore, and she barges into Vincent's office and finds Jasmine and demands that she bring Vincent to her. And Jasmine does this reluctantly, as we know with her. At first, Vincent is relieved that Oraya is okay, which, okay, glad that he has some feelings here. But their conversation quickly turns tense when Oraya brings up Salinay. And Vincent admits that he had planned to lie, which I'm shocked he kind of admitted it in a way, that he planned to lie about it to her the whole time. And when Oraya tries to explain her perspective as a human that he's raised, Vincent says it never would have been you. And that's something we've heard him say before. And then this is such a disgusting part. He takes her and then shows her the feast hall. And do you want to talk about that for me? Because it's just so gross.
Do I have to? Kidding. Sort of. When Vincent takes Oraya to the feast hall, she sees his soldiers are all in there feasting. That's what you do in the feast hall. But they're feasting on humans. And Vincent forces her to look. Apparently, this is one of his favorite parenting strategies. And he tells her that humans are pretty much like livestock, and they are less than Oraya, beneath Oraya. And Oraya starts to realize that this has been Vincent's view all along, and she just chose not to see it.
Right.
Vincent kind of hoped that she would grow out of it, just like kids grow out of believing in the tooth fairy. And I'm going to read that part.
Yes.
It says, he thought I would become like him and I would no longer care, just as he no longer cared. But he was wrong. I thought of Raihn, who had been a vampire for more than 200 years and yet still so clearly mourned his humanity with every heartbeat. Suddenly, I mourned my humanity too. I mourned it the way I mourned Ilana. Ugh, that language is powerful because we know how much she's grieved Ilana, and for her to be grieving her humanity, this part of her that she has hated for most of the book, and now she's grieving it, just like she grieved Ilana. That is a big deal. And also, I love that this part illustrates such a stark difference between Raihn and Vincent.
Yes.
And how different they are as vampires. And it comes back to that idea that Oraya mentions of things we choose not to see. And this time we're talking about a situation and instead of a person. Like we were talking about how we might not see qualities in a person that are problematic. And now we're talking about not seeing qualities of a situation that are problematic.
Right.
And so I'm curious, do you think that we are like Oraya sometimes and we're like missing a problem that's right in front of us? We're just choosing not to see it.
For sure. I think it's kind of that cliche, the bigger picture. I think sometimes we're too close to see a situation or too close to the situation to see the situation for what it really is. And so I think in this moment, she was able to take a step back. And because Raihn kind of was able to shift her perspective and she can finally see it for what the situation has been the whole time when she's been too close to it to realize it before. But Oraya also realizes that she's allowed Vincent to take away her humanity. She asks Vincent why he wants to be her Coriade, and he says it so she will be strong and reach her potential and be his daughter in every sense, and because she's always been more like a vampire than a human, which I think is just crazy he says that. Just everything he said to her before, and now it's like, oh, but you were more like a vampire the whole time. It's just crazy. But Oraya actually has the audacity to be honest and tell Vincent she's ashamed of that. And I'm so proud of her. Vincent is not. He kind of loses his mind when she says this. And he actually gets physical. He grabs her and slams her against the wall, gets in her face, and he asks if Oraya would rather be his daughter or his enemy. I can't imagine. My goodness. His parenting skills. My gosh. Oraya thinks about how she had never been afraid of Vincent before. He's always been her safe spot, but she is in this moment. And I would be too. She asks him to let her go, and he snaps out of this rage-induced trance and realizes he's actually holding her so tight that her arm is bruising. And Vincent lets her go. She leaves, and Vincent doesn't try to stop her. And this is just too sad in this moment. Can we just go back to their cute little slow dance after that half moon trial? I much prefer that, Vincent. That was back in the, there's something good in you somewhere. Like, look at your little daddy-daughter moment. And then this, my gosh. But it makes you wonder if Vincent was already planning to destroy Salinay and he was extra tender with Oraya during their dance because he knew she'd be upset about Salinay.
Gah, I really hope not. I really hope that his feelings during their daddy-daughter dance were genuine and not because he was already planning to destroy her lifelong dream of liberating Salinay. But yeah, this interaction between the two of them is rough, and like I said, it's very well written coming off of that interlude because you're already in that mind frame of him being a monster, and here he is kind of showing that part of him again. Yes. And you do kind of sense that realization in him when he realizes how he's gripping her arm and that it's bruising. Like, it is almost like he snaps out of a trance and realizes what he's doing. Like a true Jekyll and Hyde moment, I think.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
But then Oraya just leaves, and it crushes me that he doesn't stop her. He doesn't call after her, nothing. He just lets her go.
Yes.
It's so sad.
I think that's the biggest thing in that moment is she just leaves and he does nothing. Nothing. Ugh.
Yes. Well, she is reeling from this interaction with her father and
That's
does
fair.
the only thing that she knows how to do when experiencing emotional upheaval, and that is heading to the human district to
Here we
work
go.
through her feelings by killing vampires. So she is actually on her 4th kill of the night when Raihn finds her. And I guess she was just like rage stabbing this vampire corpse because
Rage stabbing.
Raihn goes, I appreciate your thoroughness, but I think he's dead. His eyes softened as they flicked back to me. I really did try not to notice or care that they drank me in the same way he drank in sunshine. It's almost dawn, he said. I've been looking for you everywhere. So first of all, thank you, Raihn, for easing the tension and also for trying to help Oraya not get disqualified for being out of the Moon Palace after dawn. And also, she mentions that, like, he drank her in, like, sunshine. So that's cute. He notices right away that there is bruising and cuts on Araya's arm that were inflicted by Vincent, and he is hella pissed about it.
Right. Like he was.
Yeah, like I think he's kind of done pretending that he doesn't like his girlfriend's dad. Like he is just over it. And Oraya cannot handle his authentic, intense emotions for her in this moment, and she starts lashing out at him. And this is a very human thing to do. Almost like you let your true feelings surface around the people you trust the most. And unfortunately, those people get like the brunt of your ugly emotions.
Well, it's kind of like what we talked about last week with shame and anger. Sometimes shame shows us anger, because I'm sure she feels some sort of shame for her not realizing the situation for what it was. And now she's just angry. I'm killing vampires. I'm pissed. And now I'm lashing out. But totally. So Raihn is intelligent enough to recognize it for what it is. And he tells her he isn't doing this with her and she can disqualify herself if she wants. And Oraya just snaps back like, why do you care? And then Raihn turns back to her kind of flabbergasted by that question. And you feel for him here because, like, have you ever wanted so badly to help someone, but they're almost making it impossible? Like, I can hear Raihn shouting, just let me love you. Just let me love you.
Yes, 100%. I have been in that situation where I want to help someone that I care about, and I'm like, why are you making it impossible for me to help you? Like, please let me do this.
Yes, I feel like that with my children all the time, especially like toddlers when they're doing things, and it's like, just let me save you, and they're trying to kill themselves. They're like, just let me save you.
Oraya actually is having a full-on like toddler moment here, like with her like lashing out at Raihn, and she's just having a full-on tantrum. I mean, I'm not blaming her. She deserves to have a tantrum after all this.
Yes, absolutely.
But she is very toddler-esque.
But Oraya does admit to herself that she knows this is a dumb question because she cares for all the same reason Raihn cares, right? And so she sheathes her sword and walks over to Raihn and kisses him. Swoon alert!
Swoon alert! Buckle up. You're going to be swooning a lot for the next chapter. So my vote is that we just start a tally right now of how many swoon points Raihn is going to have.
Got my fingers ready.
Yes, start counting. They have a juicy kiss right there in the alleyway. But Raihn stops it and says that he'd prefer not to do this next to a pile of entrails. And then Oraya says that he kisses her softly as if he cherishes her. Swoon point number 1.
Perfect.
Then he asks her for one honest thing, their classic phrase. And I love it so much right now. Is that another swoon point? I think so. Why not? Swoon point number 2.
Gotta give it to him.
Kenz, what goes through Araya's mind when he asks her for one honest thing?
Well, let me just read it. Oraya says, the most terrible, honest thing of all was that Raihn. It was all honest. It always had been. He saw too much of me, understood every complexity and senseless duality. I was honest even when I didn't mean to be. He did not fear my darkness nor pity my compassion, and the truth was, the idea of dying without knowing him completely was torturous. Oh my gosh. It was all honest the whole time. It was honest. And I love
I
that
love
for
how she says
Oraya.
that. I love how she says it was all honest, even when she wasn't trying to be. Like, he just truly sees her. And that means so much
Yes,
to have someone truly see you, especially when
absolutely.
she's been like hiding her whole life and people only saw her as Vincent's daughter or pet or whatever.
100%. And of course, she can't bring herself to say this. So she's just like, we're going to die. Give me something to live for. Right? So Raihn flies them back to the Moon Palace, and it says that he stole kisses from her as they flew. So swoon point number 3.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
sweet. And then they get back and things get spicy. And here are some major swoon points for Raihn. He prioritizes Oraya's consent and comfort. He repeatedly tells her how beautiful she is. He assures her that she's safe, especially once he understands her past experience that we spoke about in the interlude. He assures her there's no rush or expectation. He asks for her consent several more times, and then he prioritizes Oraya's pleasure. So let's count. Where does that put us? 9 swoon points now?
Easily. And I'm sure, like, if we were to actually, like, read every detail of this chapter, there'd be, like, 20 more swoon points. So
Easily.
I do love that these two have this night together, and perhaps it's even more meaningful because they knew that they weren't both going to live after this next trial. And Oraya is kind of thinking about that in the next chapter as they're waking up after their romantic night together. And she says, I came to the horrifying realization that I would never be able to carve Raihn from my heart. He had embedded too deep, roots through stone. I love that description of roots through stone. It's such a great metaphor. And their conversation then shifts to talking about Raihn's past. We haven't gotten a lot of details about that yet.
Right.
And so he tells Oraya that before he was turned, he was 32 years old and he had a pregnant wife. And that just kills me that he had like a whole life and a family. He worked as a guard and had taken a job securing a ship. The ship was caught in a storm and Raihn ended up on the shores of the House of Night. So he's been shipwrecked, like he's half drowned and ends up on the beach by the House of Night. And a vampire finds him half dead and asks, do you want to live? Raihn, of course, said yes, but he didn't really understand what that meant in the moment. So he survives the turning process, and then this vampire won't let him leave. Ugh. Raihn explains
he should have asked a different question, not do you want to live? He should have asked a couple more questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. He knew what he was doing, right? Raihn explains that he was held captive and exploited by this man for the next 70 years. And so Oraya now understands why Raihn has always understood her so well. Her feeling of like being powerless and being used, because Raihn has felt that way. And this just, it hurts your heart when he tells you this story because you picture him as this strong warrior type of a guy, and it's hard to imagine him being in this kind of situation.
For sure. Like poor Raihn, it's heartbreaking because you gotta love how Oraya is like, tell me this person is dead. I love that she's ready to kill for him, because I think it's just nice to finally get to the point where we understand why they understand each other so well and why they click so well. And I love that Oraya's first response is that like, he's dead, right? Because
if he's not, I'm gonna remedy that real fast.
Yeah, exactly. And then it also makes me think like she's gonna now understand why Raihn feels that way about Vincent to a certain extent. But Raihn goes on to explain that he began a relationship with this vampire's wife, Nessinen, and I also felt like she was a prisoner to this vampire. And I want to read something that Raihn says about how Nessinen helped him. Loving her saved me, because by that time I didn't think there was a single God's forsaken thing in the entire shitty world that mattered, until suddenly Nessinen mattered. And the difference between nothing mattering and one thing mattering is a big one. And what a sobering thought that is. The difference between nothing mattering and one thing mattering is a big one.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I remember reading this and just really feeling how helpless he felt before Nessinen. And so that sentence about the difference between nothing mattering and one thing mattering, I felt like was really impactful. And I think that's true. I think when you're in a dark place and you feel like literally nothing matters, finding one thing that means everything to you makes all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely it does. And Raihn continues his story saying that eventually there was an opportunity to get out, and he actually begged Nessinen to go with him, and she refused, which Oraya can't fathom. And
it's funny that Oraya could not fathom that another person would refuse to leave. And I was like, really? Really, Oraya? You can't fathom how someone might be loyal to a cruel vampire king. How interesting. Like,
That's
anyway.
Funny.
Raihn goes on to say that once he escaped, he spent time traveling all over Obi-Trace and even to some of the human lands. And it was after returning from the human lands that he met and rescued Misha. And he expresses concern about Misha at this point in their little conversation. And he says that he's concerned that she's kind of naive. And as he's trying to explain this, Oraya kind of cuts in and says that she gets it because she feels like Misha maybe doesn't understand the idea of having to fight hard in this world, and that goodness isn't just like a pure and simple concept. So basically they're both saying Misha is all sunshine and rainbows, and we're worried she's too naive for this vampire world. And Oraya says this: when I first met Raihn, I thought we would never understand each other. But now, for the first time, I felt like someone was really seeing me, seeing the world as I did. Well, that's amazing. But the timing couldn't be more terrible. Like, literally.
Now we're figuring it out.
Right before they had to kill each other. To really drive this heartbreak home, Raihn finishes his tale by bringing up when he met Oraya and how she had found defiance in a place where he thought it didn't exist anymore. And Oraya admits that she doesn't really know why she's fighting at this point. And how does Raihn respond to that, Ken?
Well, let me tell you, Raihn makes Oraya look at him, and then he says this: "You are more than what he made you," he said. "Do you understand? That isn't the strength. The shit he tried to carve out of you is. You have every reason to keep going, now more than ever. And I say this knowing how stupid it is for me, of all people, to say it." He wasn't talking about the Kajari. He was talking about something bigger. And his fingers clutched mine, trembling as he hissed, "So don't you effing dare stop fighting, princess. It would break my damned heart." Oraya is on the verge of tears. I'm on the verge of tears. But she's on the verge of tears and makes Raihn promise to never stop fighting as well. And that is where we got today's affirmation. We love how intense Raihn is about this, and know that sometimes we need that same intense instruction to not give up. Even after failures and heartbreaks and tragedies, keep going. Anything you want to add, Whitney, about today's affirmation?
Just that if you're still struggling not to give up, remember that you'll break Raihn's damn heart if you do.
And that's worth it right there.
Maybe we should have put that in parentheses at the bottom of the printable. Don't break Raihn's heart.
I think we can make that happen.
But, yeah, I think we can too. Again, just a reminder that you can print out the affirmation, and maybe we'll add one with parentheses about not breaking Raihn's heart. And also, please go print it out and remind yourself to keep fighting. And we all need that reminder sometimes. Oraya notices now that the sun is setting and asks Raihn if he wants one last look. This part is so sweet. I love it. And Raihn does not hesitate before he says no, and he just continues looking at Oraya and kisses her. This is another swoon point for sure.
What swoon are we on now?
Yes, because Oraya is his new son. Ugh, he needs Oraya more than he needs the sun now. So swoon worthy. That only makes it like so much harder to watch them walk into the next trial. And Oraya does have a moment of hesitation where she describes it this way. She says that she smashes the fantasies, fairy tales, and useless dreams on the floor. Sad day. And then she walks through the threshold. So this episode certainly has had its like emotional highs and lows, and the next one is going to be a doozy too, I'm afraid.
And it really is. I'm like, dang it. Nyaxia, why couldn't they had 3 weeks? Give them one night?
Seriously.
Come on.
give him some time. Poor kid.
Right? And that's where we are going to end our exploration of the Serpent and the Wings of Night for today. One of the best parts of reading is learning things that help us with this messy adventure we call life. Each episode, we're going to share a true story that connects to lessons learned in the chapters we read. And so today I'm going to share a true story about not giving up the fight, to keep fighting, and also kind of a little bit being seen how Raihn finally sees Oraya. Not that he finally sees Oraya, but that Oraya finally feels seen by someone. So my oldest child had some struggles with speech and a possible dyslexia, and I was really struggling to get her evaluated at school. And it wasn't just a process, it was a battle. From the beginning, I had to push against delays and a system that seemed more focused on checking boxes than truly listening. And I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't know what, and I refused to let her struggle. And so for months, I had to watch her, especially at school, find her voice or feel understood. We were fortunate enough that she had amazing teachers, and I actually had several conferences with them. And at one in particular, they mentioned to me that they had to ask her quite often to repeat what she was asking or what she was saying. And when she would tell them, they'd have to ask her multiple times in that same instance. And eventually she would just be like, never mind, and move on, because they just could not understand her. They couldn't hear her, and she would just give up. It was emotionally exhausting, not just for her, but for me. And at times I questioned whether I was doing the right thing by bugging the school system. But deep down, I knew I was. And every step of the way, I had to fight, not just for answers, but for action. And I wasn't fighting for me. I was fighting for her and for her right to be understood, supported, and be given the tools she needs to succeed. And I kept pushing because she deserves better than being overlooked. It wasn't easy, but eventually our persistence led to a diagnosis of speech and dyslexia challenges. You know, some people could look at that as a defeat, but for us, it was a breakthrough and a step toward getting her the support she needs and deserves. And she's starting that again with the school year coming up. And I'm just so happy. Every battle we fought was for her and to make sure that she was seen and heard and helped. And so don't stop fighting. It's worth it in the end.
Oh, I love this story, and I love it even more because I know this child and love her dearly. And so hearing this story, and especially after watching you guys navigate it, is a treat for me to hear you tell it and share it with others, because I'm proud of you for continuing to fight even when there was obstacle after obstacle. And I know that there are other parents out there that can relate to this.
Yeah.
It's having to fight for your kids and for your kids' future and happiness is something I think we're all willing to do. So thank you for sharing that. And
of course.
Letting all of us hear that story. So good.
Of course. Good. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like that children are always something we can always relate to with each other, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whether it's your child, though, or a friend or another loved one, I feel like that is, something that we can keep fighting for, something that we're like more inclined to and motivated to fight for. Someone
I agree.
We love.
Well put. I agree. Before we go, let's take a moment to express our gratitude to a character who we admire from this stretch of chapters, and today's note is for Oraya. So here it goes. Dear Oraya, thank you for showing us what real courage looks like. Not just the blade swinging, demon slaying kind, though you got that down, but the quieter kind, the kind that listen when truths are hard to hear, the kind that confronts the most powerful vampire in the room without flinching, the kind that opens a heart that's been locked away for far too long. You let yourself love, you let yourself hope, and you vowed to keep fighting no matter what came next. That takes a strength no child can measure, and we are so proud of you. Some from your friends at Romantasy Remedy, Oraya, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Oraya. And thank you, Kenz, for having this conversation with me. It's always so fun to yap about books with you. And thank you, everyone who listened to this episode. If you enjoyed it, we would love to hear your comments in a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And we would love it even more if you came back and joined us again in our future episode next week as we continue exploring The Serpent and the Wings of Night. We have reached the end of the main portion of our episode. Thank you so much for listening. Look for Romantasy Remedy on Instagram and TikTok. Check the show notes for those links, as well as links to the printable affirmation and soundtrack playlist on Spotify.
We're really looking forward to connecting with you and nerding out over all the best romantasy. After this, we'll begin the Spoiler Central segment of the episode, which you shouldn't listen to if you haven't finished the entire series, including the rest of this book. We're totally those book besties where one of us reads at a normal speed and one of us reads faster than you can winnow from here to Valaris. Since Whitney is a speed reader, I'm going to duck out while she does Spoiler Central.
All right, you've been warned. Here come the spoilers. This will be short and sweet today. The first thing I want to talk about is how Raihn mentions that he's nervous about Misha because she's too naive. I think we learn in Songbird and the Heart of Stone that Misha isn't naive at all, especially at the end of Songbird when she kills Atraxus. Killing the lead god of the White Pantheon takes some guts and will certainly leave a mark on the world. My second item in Spoiler Central today is that when Raihn tells his story about his past, he conveniently leaves out the name of the powerful vampire who turned him. We learn in The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King that this was Neculi, who was the Rishon king of the Nightborn vampires at the time. When Raihn becomes king, many of the Rishon who were part of Neculi's court remember Raihn as a slave and refuse to see him as their leader. One exception, of course, being Vale, who has found a new love and appreciation for turned vampires thanks to his wife, Lilith. That's all for Spoiler Central today. Thanks again for listening to Romantasy Remedy. Join us again next week as we continue exploring The Serpent and the Wings of Night.